This is Rosemarie Rossetti, and you're listening to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
A third of the people love you, a third don't care about you, and a third hate you. So you concentrate on the third that love you and you go for it.
I think the greatest Achilles heel for leaders is they don't give themselves time to think.
So my journey is one of those, there are a lot of detours. There's a lot of going off on the side roads.
Thrive Out listeners, you're in for a treat. We're here with Jamal Mashburn,
Jesse Itzler,
the John Maxwell,
Jackie the Joke Man Martling, New York Rangers great Mike Richter,
Lisa Lampanelli,
Mary Carrillo.
Oh, how nice.
I'm actually going through the practice of being an entrepreneur.
Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and thrive loud.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a powerful, internationally known keynote speaker, trainer, author, consultant, and president of Rossetti Enterprises Incorporated. Through her own personal tragedy, which she'll share in this episode, she looked deep within herself and found new strength and resolve. She demonstrates how to live with conviction and rise above misfortune. She empowers audiences to embrace change, improve performance, and unlock their competitive advantage. She taps into what motivates people to change their behavior and achieve their goals, something we all need reminding of during these very unique times. Thrive Loud listeners, Rosemarie Rossetti. Rosemarie, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
As I did in the opening, I've never done a bump set spike in a way of like this before, literally teeing you up here. As we are recording this in late March, and I'm in the New York area, and we're in full shutdown mode over here, and more around the nation, that might be where things head. And there's definitely so many questions and doubt going on. That perspective is sometimes an important thing we need to hit upon. Rosemarie, can you do me a favor? I think it would be important for our listeners to learn more about you by sharing your story, and then we're going to dive into the work you do today. That sound fair?
That's great. If I can take everyone back in time, this was June 13th of 1998. Imagine a beautiful Saturday afternoon, no wind, no rain, no clouds, no threat of storm. This was my husband and I third wedding anniversary, and we decided to go for a bicycle ride. While we were riding, my husband thought he heard what was a gunshot. And of course, he slowed down to look around to find out what that sound was. But in reality, it was not a gunshot. It was the sound of a large tree, 80 feet tall, 7,000 pounds. And instantly, this tree came crashing down on me, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. My story is one of reality. Of course, it changed my life. I'm lucky to be alive. It changed everything about my life and our relationship and my business and my approach to dealing with extreme changes, dealing with adversity, and moving forward to take my life back. So that's what the story is all about.
Rosemarie, let's do a little snapshot here. What was your line of work before the tree came a-tumbling down?
I was a professional speaker, trainer, writer, and consultant. So I had a full-time business in my home. I had a publishing company in the lower level where I had a book called The Healthy Indoor Plant. I think it's humorously ironic that a horticulturist gets hit by a tree, but that was the irony here. I had a book that was no longer able to be shipped because I couldn't get into the basement. And instantly I had to shut down my speaking and training business because I was nowhere near ready to leave the house and was still in physical and occupational therapy 3 days a week for the next 2 years.
Let me dive into that a little bit further. And I was going to ask, was there a point that your life specifically was in danger after the tree had fallen down? Did they think there was a chance you may not even get through the accident?
There was never any revelation to me that that was a decision by the doctors. I was very fortunate in that the rescue team came to the scene instantly. The 911 call was very quick, and the response team were volunteers on the fire department squad, and they called ahead for a helicopter that was waiting for me. So the magic hour, the golden hour, as they call it, after an injury of this type, I had a spinal cord injury. And so they got me to the hospital very close to that end of that golden hour so that surgery was immediate.
Hmm. Rosemarie, did we ever learn why the tree had fallen, out of curiosity?
Well, anyone could venture to guess. Was there a bird that just landed on that tree and made it unstable? Was it because the tree was rotten on the middle? We don't know. Was it a small gust of wind, or it was in June and some of the leaves were still expanding? This tree was hazardous. It had some rot inside. It was not stable, but it was in full leaf at the time. So anyone could make an assumption as to why that second it decides to fall on top of me.
Was your husband injured at that time?
Fortunately, he stopped before the tree hit him. He saw what was coming. He had warned me, look over there, something's falling. He shouted, stop to me. And that's when he jumped off his bike, or he'd have been right under there with me.
I know, thank you for sharing, by the way, just the incident itself. And I know it's part of your story. I want to ask the question that I think where it's going to go was, during this moment, what was your mindset like in that near-term piece during those early stages of surgery, recovery from surgery, rehab, and obviously that fact that you were no longer able to walk?
Well, I knew that surgery was happening when the anesthesiologist came over and told me to start counting backwards. And what was my last thought? And really, I've got to admit this to you. Will I wake up from this surgery, or is this going to be the end? I knew I was hurt seriously. I couldn't move from the waist down. And so as I went to sleep, that last thought was, is this the end? So waking up on Sunday morning from the surgery, I was so excited to be alive again, to say, oh my gosh, I have a second chance. I lived through whatever it was. I didn't know how serious, but I really had a sense that I was spared and life goes on, and I would accept whatever it was that was the result of that injury.
So I got to give you credit that you had that mindset that early on. I mean, I guess maybe did it dip? Did it drop? Your spirits from that sense? And I'm asking these questions because I think many people would hear it and say, "Wow, I'm glad I'm alive," but then would be like, "Oh my God, there's so many things I wouldn't be able to do."
Yeah, you deal with the pain, excruciating pain. I had a broken neck, a broken back. I now had metal rods in me. I was just laying on my back. I had to be turned every couple of hours. I couldn't even feed myself. There was no movement in bed. It was not something I was prepared to deal with, the excruciating pain. And of course, the narcotics were given to me at certain times, and they would wear off, and I'd ask for more, and they'd say, not yet. So there were times dealing with the pain that I thought to myself, if this is what life is, if this much pain has to be tolerated, I don't want to continue living. Yeah. So there was a very dark period of time after coming home from the hospital where the pain just kept me up at night, and I'm not sleeping, and I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't dress. I couldn't move. My husband was my caregiver, and it was like, oh my gosh, I don't want life if this is what life is. But I'll tell you what, one thing turned things around for me, and this was a real turning point. At the point when I was the lowest, someone suggested to read a book by Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the concentration camp. Yeah. His book is Man's Search for Meaning, and that really made a huge difference in my attitude about life and what the meaning for life was.
From, I guess, this bounce point that you've recognized, how did you then shift moving forward? What did you do? Did you see a clear path that you wanted to head down, or was this something you were going to try to figure out from what you were doing previously as a speaker and now looking to what the business was before and what could you do next?
There were a lot of pieces in that book that brought me to a new realization of the purpose for pain and the purpose for suffering. And the purpose for life is love. And so it brought me to the point where I had been married 3 years, and if I really loved my husband, he depends on me. And my mother was in her 80s, she depends on me. My brothers, they depend on me. And I had so many friends in the speaking world, my colleagues in the industry, as well as my personal friends. They were all gathered around me to surround me with their love and support and encouragement and ideas to rebuild my business, rebuild my life.
Give us a snapshot of what that looks like today, your business, your world, your life. I think this will be a good bounce point for us in the rest of our conversation.
Well, being that it's the end of March 2020 and we are now in self-quarantined with the coronavirus, I am home and I am not working because my professional speaking business is in a pause right now. I look at it as a pause, not a total devastation, but of all of the programs I had on my calendar, they're now postponed. So I have no income for the foreseeable future. And that is a scary situation. We have to rely on savings and have an attitude that all of those programs will come to be reality and the cash flow will be here again. So I have to look at this from the aspect of this is what it is for now, but have more patience. The world will recover, so will my business. And as I go through this pause, I've got to prepare myself to make some changes in the business.
Thank you for sharing that brutal honesty, Rosemarie, because as you know, I'm a speaker as well. And yeah, all of those things are true. I'm in agreement with every single thing you said. I'm a big fan. I came from Wall Street, Rosemarie, and the way to describe what's happening both to the economy and I think you could even argue the speaking business is we're in this U shape. We were obviously at a very busy time and things just dropped down and we're at the bottom of the U and we're not exactly sure when this thing's going to start curving back up. And there's a lot of factors taking place. People, jobs are out and businesses are closed and people literally on hold. And I've been actually trying to figure out as well. And I've been doing a lot of work virtually even before all of this, not just all speaking gigs, but also consulting work and helping clients through this. But I think your message is on point. We'll call the coronavirus or the month of March. Can we make an analogy to the dropping of the tree? Do we think that this is, the shock to the system and then it's a matter of rebounding and coming back up? Are you on the same camp as me in that area?
Well, I read my articles and I watch my motivational tapes to remind myself of the encouragement that I was writing back then in 98, 99, and 2000. So it's very interesting for me to go back and to see the messages from back then in my early days of recovery and how helpful they are to me now. As a motivational speaker, I need to motivate myself. As a person who wakes up every morning wondering, what do I have to look forward to today? I have to have a positive attitude and outlook. Even if it's a cloudy day, I have to think very positively that anything I do today is moving me forward in my business.
I think it's so parallel. And I'm just realizing from the way you told the story to what's going to happen coming up whenever that U-shaped curve starts bouncing up. People we all will probably know someone that might have perished from the coronavirus. We're certainly going to know somebody that has it because I think it's going to be like a 60 or 70% number of the people who do. And then there's the aspect of when we start coming back to normalcy and starting to get back to doing business, there's going to be a lot of people that want to go back and get out of the house, get out and about, live their lives, attend sporting events, be inspired by those that inspire us to remind us about this. And I think you might be one of our symbols of this, because that path that you took is not too different from recognizing, hey, you are here, we are here, we've gotten through something tragic. Now it's time to look forward and figure out how we can move forward from here on in. And I think you might be our representative on that. I'm glad I had you on today about this. Do you agree with my analysis here, summarizing you and all of what's going on?
Well, it's a privilege to be here and to be helpful as I continue to write and send out messages. Even now, that's one of the things I'm doing, is I can write continuously from this aspect. I've got a lot of time on my hands and nothing's keeping me from writing again and sending messages to the customer of the future that's going to hire me, to say, I am here for you. I've got a message of encouragement. You're going to get through this. And if I can be of any help when you are on the other side and want to bring me in to speak as a person with experience, bring me in. I'd be happy to address your organization or corporation with that message of how to continue the recovery.
Rosemarie, I'm going to jump ahead of you. I'm going to give you another idea here that you should be thinking about. And I've been doing this with a lot of sales teams, and it's a little tough because at the moment we're recording this, everybody's just trying to figure out how to work in this environment. But this is the exact message that they need to know today. And that could be great virtual calls for you and ways for you to connect ahead of those messages, so then they'll get a chance to see you on the other side when those events start to pick back up. What do you think about that?
That's a great idea. And I have been on many of my friends' Zoom calls recently, learning how to have that happen.
I think we're going to help you out even more. I have a suggestion for you, which we're running a program over here at Thrive Virtually, and I think that might be a message. We'll do one of these workshops and possibly have you on as like a guest star. How does that sound?
I'd love that. Please do invite me.
We're going to definitely do that. Let's connect you more to our listeners here. I love asking a question here on the program before we get to all the administrative stuff. And Rosemarie, I want to hear this. You know, you have defined when you can have an off day, and I'm talking about a day when you're not kicking on all cylinders. And obviously have had one shock to the system, much more so than many people will ever have. But even today, you'll have days that you're probably not kicking on all cylinders and things aren't all thriving. When you have trouble thriving today, what practice do you seek, or what individual do you seek out to get back on the thriving track?
Well, my feelings about a bad day are it's a bad hour, or it's a bad period. It's a bad moment. It's not a whole bad day. We can recover very quickly by changing our thoughts and changing our attitude. It's like a radio station. If we're depressed and down, oftentimes it's because what we're thinking about, and what we think about then turns into emotions that turns into depression. So I don't let the whole day become a down day. If I might be down at 3:00 in the afternoon, I think, okay, this is not going well. Things have not progressed. Take a break. Get out of the office, go outside. I can ride my bike for a while. I can play with the cat. I can go in the kitchen and have a snack and a cup of tea. And I can change my attitude by changing that environment as well as the thoughts in my head. So there's no such thing in my life as a bad day. It might be a bad hour. So it's time to move on and do something that brings me joy, comfort, or I'll take a nap if I'm just tired and cranky.
I like it. That's actually, I'm going to have a follow-up on that. You obviously were a bike rider in the past. And what do you do? What are your favorite activities that you like doing today?
Believe it or not, I am still a bike rider.
Okay.
I have enough strength in my upper legs, in the thighs. I have a 3-wheeled recumbent bicycle. So there's 2 wheels in the front and 1 in the back. It's a recumbent bike. I transfer from my wheelchair onto the bike seat. I wear my bike shoes with the cleats on the bottom
Mm-hmm.
and a special orthotic on my foot and ankle so that my foot is at a 90-degree angle. And I can hop on that bike and ride in my neighborhood anytime independently that I want to.
That is awesome. And kudos to you for keeping that up. And I imagine that probably also sparks some ideas and inspiration too when you're on that bike getting out there.
Yes, it's an amazing source of creativity. You're riding and looking around at the environment, and all of a sudden, a new idea just pops in my head.
I like it. Rosemarie, let's do this. Do the admin part of the show here. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you on websites, any social media links that you want or whatever it is. We will put it all in the show notes. However, it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Well, I'd like to also let your listeners know about my national demonstration home. My husband and I designed it, built it, and live in it. It's the top-rated home in North America. It's called the Universal Design Living Laboratory, and it's showcasing universal design and accessible design as well as green building. So I invite anyone to our website and take a virtual tour of our home in Columbus, Ohio. It's simply the 4 letters, the initials, UDLL.com, the Universal Design Living Laboratory. Now, if you'd like more motivation from me and you want to see my TEDx talk or read some articles or watch some performances of other presentations, go to rosemariespeaks.com. Just my name, Rosemarie, Rosemarie, speaks.com. And you can see that I am a motivational speaker, and the description of that program is there for you. I'm on LinkedIn, and what we've done is captured this address, top motivational speaker. That is my address on LinkedIn. So we got lucky on that one. Or you can type my name in. Of course, LinkedIn will find me very quickly, Rosemarie Rossetti, Rossetti. So those are some places to find me.
I'm just laughing, Rosemarie, because not only because of landing that name there, but you do have the breadth of being able to tell the motivational story, which is great in itself, but you also have the accessibility component of what you do. That's obviously an inclusive component of the world that we live in. So you're taking up too many lanes. You're killing me. How am I going to compete against someone like you? Come on, Rosemarie, give us a break over here. It's already tough enough.
It could be an advantage or it could be a disadvantage in that I have many different lanes, many different topics. Because of what happened to me, it did change my business tremendously. And I've gone different directions. With the house because our old house didn't work anymore. And of course, my encouraging speaker friends said, Rosemarie, you have a wonderful story. Start a journal immediately. And I started writing my memoir as well as articles and books and transitioned to being a motivational speaker.
I like it. Rosemarie, can we go down what I like to call Fun Street here on Thrive Loud? Just some fun things to learn more about you.
Sure.
Okay. First of all, do you have a favorite movie of all time?
The title is A Star is Born, and I liked it when Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand did it. That was several years ago. But then we've got the remake here with Lady Gaga here and Bradley Cooper. And so I wanted to go back in time and see the original one. And oh my gosh, Judy Garland's version was amazing too. So I had a Star is Born a-thon, I guess, by having the opportunity in a 1-month period of time of seeing the new release and then going to the library to get the other two to compare those stories. The stories are totally different, but I really enjoyed watching all 3 of them.
I think, whenever Hollywood likes to remake the same idea, but I think it's just funny that they literally keep remaking the same movie. So over and over again. And obviously, those are some pretty powerful voices in Judy Garland, Barbara Streisand, and Lady Gaga. It's a pretty impressive lineup there. Do you have a song that is kind of like your jam? Maybe when you're bike riding around the neighborhood or whether you're just trying to get yourself, motivated up for doing something else. Any song in your head that is kind of like your jam?
I like The Way You Move. Is a song that really jazzes me up. It's just kind of a funky one. The Way You Move.
All right. And Rosemarie, I want to bring this home. We need your help here. Look, a lot of people right now are kind of just glum. And I think that was a good word because, look, it's sad enough that there's a bad virus out there. Being enclosed, and there's been lots of jokes around social media about what it's like to be stuck inside with your husband. The joke is that there's going to be a lot of babies born within early 2021 and a lot of divorces by late 2020. But obviously, passing through all of that, the memes and the jokes, and people trying to spin them around, just like we know that we're going to come back and all this stuff to be motivated and being able to see you in person and events will take place again. What's your words of motivation to those out there that might be a little down and out right now?
Well, start a gratitude journal. That would be number one. The other is help other people. It's amazing how much it does for you when you're helping someone else. So if you have the opportunity to donate blood, this would be a good time to do that. I had to give my husband praise. He did that this week, and he told me he hadn't done it in 40 years. So to go back 40 years later and donate blood, it made him feel like he's helping the cause. So in any way in your community, go help somebody. Even though we know we're quarantined and there's some things that we shouldn't be doing, but there are some things we should be doing, helping in the food banks, helping in any way we can with activities that would help other people who are worse off than we are.
Rosemarie Rossetti, thank you for helping our listeners really gain perspective, sharing your story, and maybe even more importantly, reminding us all of that, hey, we're all here and we will get through this. Thanks again for coming on Thrive Loud.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.